It's time for six-figure trucking period 22. Let's look at my compensation as a W-2 company driver. First, we're going to talk about my logs for the week. I was paid for 2,782 dispatched miles. I had 2,682 logged miles. My utilization this week was 104%. The day in green, I was finishing up on home time. My unedited pay statement for period 22 of 2024. This includes all trips from May 19th to May 25th. The first trip this week started at my home in Shadydale, Georgia, and ended at the Greer, South Carolina terminal. It had a stop in Atlanta, and it paid $173 for 243 miles. The second trip this week started at the Greer, South Carolina terminal and ended in Panama City Beach, Florida. It had stops in Jacksonville, Yulee, and McClenny, Florida. It paid $590 for 741 miles. The third trip this week started in Panama City Beach, Florida, and ended at the Fort Recovery, Ohio terminal. It had stops at the Greer, South Carolina terminal and 3 stops in Pennsylvania, including Carlisle, Bristol, and Easton. It paid $1,296 for 1,798 miles. Empty miles paid $387, securement paid $68, hazmat miles paid $24, loaded miles paid $1,369, and stops paid $210. Total earnings this week was $2,058. We keep hearing across the industry that drivers are getting less miles and making less money. I'm one that believes in hard numbers rather than anecdotal information. Here's the comparison of my miles and compensation for the last few years. This looks at the comparison through week 22 of each year. 22 weeks into the year, my gross income is $46,841, and I've driven 60,691 miles. This averages out to $2,129 per week and 2,759 miles per week. Estimating that out over a year, I'm on track to earn $110,715 for 143,449 miles. Through week 22 of 2024, I've been loaded 93% of the miles, and 15% have been hazmat placarded miles. This is a map of the miles per state year-to-date in which I've driven. This week, I added the state of Maryland to the map of states that I've driven in this calendar year. Here's the home time that I've taken this payroll year. I finished that home time that began last week. I have been on home time 8 times so far this year, totaling 28.6 days. I've also had 12 paid 34-hour resets on the road. I'm not paid hourly, but let's calculate this like an hourly job. For the week, my gross pay was $2,058 for 64 hours of work. If we break that down into a typical hourly job, it could be 40 regular hours and 24 hours of overtime, resulting in an effective pay rate of $27.27 per hour. Straight hourly pay would be $32.34 per hour. Year-to-date, I've earned $46,841 for 1,190 hours worked. Out of those hours, 869 would be regular time, and 321 would be overtime. If we calculate it weekly, with overtime, the effective pay rate is $34.67 per hour. However, as straight time, it's approximately $39.35 per hour. Taking a look at the if-only truck drivers were paid for every hour in the truck calculation page, 22 weeks have went by so far. That totals 3,696 hours. I've been at home 687 of those hours. That works out to 3,009 hours from pre-trip leaving home to the post-trip returning home through week number 22. My compensation through week 22 is $46,841. That works out to $15.57 per hour away from home. As always, make sure you're enjoying every day at work.